Connection. Again, Eli Hershkovich and Tom Bostwick with you in studio as always. And again, we're going to talk to you, Brian Skinnell of Yahoo Sports and Rants Sports, a contributor to both of those sites. Brian, last time we talked to you, you did not want D'Angelo Hall back with the Redskins, and he just signed a contract a couple weeks ago in Washington, a 4-year deal. So what are your thoughts on Hall re-upping up, I should say, with the Skins?
Well, the thing about that is, if it were my choice, I would have saved the money and put it towards something else. However, obviously they don't really feel like there is much else out there, or at least they don't feel they have a chance to get much else that's out there. So I think financially, I think they did fine. I think they did well for themselves. 4 years, I think it was about $15 million. It's a little more annually than what I would have hoped or would have wanted. But the thing is if D'Angelo can prove to be consistent and play like D'Angelo Hall that we saw against the Broncos and against the Lions, I think he'll be fine. And the Bears, to be shutting down Brandon Marshall the way he did, I think it'll be worth the money, and I think they'll end up getting a good deal. But the thing about it is until he can prove to be that consistent, to me at least, I have a hard time giving him any money, let alone minimal or what they gave him.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you, Brian. He's obviously shown some signs that he's got talent to be a very, very a good cornerback in this league, but he's also shown signs where he's lazy and he goes for the turnover too much and gets burned. So it'll definitely be interesting to see. But switching over sports here, spring training is started. Some games are in play today. Looking at the Nationals, obviously underwhelming last year under Davey Johnson, but they return a lot of talent this year, and obviously still one of the better teams in baseball. So what are you expecting under new manager Matt Williams this year?
I wrote an article just this morning about that. So it's funny you bring that up. And I expect nothing less than a berth in the National League Championship Series. I think, claiming or proclaiming World Series or bust is a little bit out there. I don't think that you can really count any season that gets to the postseason. You can count that as a failure. Certainly, that's the goal of every team. But for the Nationals, I think they're too talented, especially on the mound, to settle for anything less than that. Okay. In the regular season, here's how I broke it down in the article this morning. In the regular season, they got to shoot for what they did in 2012, which was 96 wins. They got to shoot for that mark. If they can get around that mark, that's a good regular season. When they get to the postseason, they got to do more than what they did in 2012, which was an early first-round exit in the wild card round. They can't do that again. They're too good to do that, and that would be an underwhelming performance for the season for me. So I think getting to the NLCS, I think that's the mark they need to aim for, because anything after that is bonus and just makes the season great. But anything before that, it'll leave me wanting more. I think this team is too good to miss that mark, and I don't think they will. I don't think they will miss that mark. I think they're right. Their minds are right. They're focused. I think they're ready to show that 2013 was just something weird, was an enigma that nobody saw coming.
And who would think that the Nationals had something weird? Because, of course, National fans and fans around baseball would have never thought that the Nationals would get good at this point. I mean, maybe they saw it coming, but maybe not this soon in Washington. But again, looking at the moves that the Nationals made this offseason to try to get back or to try to get to the NLCS, as you were talking about, adding Doug Fister from the Detroit Tigers, and then also adding the former Cubs pitcher Edwin Jackson, who we talked about a lot on this show. What do you think the Nationals are going to try to do with their pitching staff and to try to manage Strasburg's innings as well?
Well, I think Strasburg, he's going to be turned loose. I don't think there's anything about managing his innings or anything like that. I think that's long behind us. I think that's done and over with. But you look at the mound and the starting pitching. You got Strasburg, who I think he'll be the opening day starter. After that, you're going to have Gio Gonzalez, then Jordan Zimmerman, then Doug Fister. And then I think you'll have Ross Detweiler there at number 5. I think the lefty is going to beat out Tanner Roark and Ross Ollendorf to get that pitching spot. So through and through, I mean, this team, this mound, this starting pitching rotation I think it's going to be the best in baseball. You say what you will about what they got going on out in LA with the Dodgers. But I don't see how the Nationals don't have the best pitching staff in the country. I think that at season's end we'll look back and think that we'll put them in the discussion maybe, with the 90s and the Braves and how good those pitching staffs were. I think that's really how we're going to look back on this year's staff is it'll be that good. So the only thing, though, that you could point to that will be their weakest spot, I think, will be Ross Detweiler. I think, and that's not saying much either. I don't mean that as any slight. It's hard to find a weak spot. You look at what Ross Detweiler was able to do in Game 4 of the NL wildcard game in 2012. He was subbing for Steven Strasburg and pushed to Game 5 with a really good outing there in Game 4. So I don't think by any means is there a weak spot. I think that could be the weakest spot, but only because Detweiler's not as strong as the others. But he's got a lot to prove because last year he was injured. His back was really messing with him, and he couldn't do much. But I expect him to come back and be strong again. Will he be, the most consistent or the most dominant? No, but I expect him to be strong. I really do. You can expect the usual out of Fister, Zimmerman, Gonzalez, and Strasburg. All four of those guys are going to be fantastic. And that's, again, why I think that they should settle for nothing less than the NLCS, because those will be their four pitchers in the playoffs. It's going to be Strasburg, Gonzalez, Zimmerman, Fister. If you got a four-man rotation like that with those four last names, that's something to be afraid of if you're an opposing team. So I think they've got all the tools in place, and especially, you talk about what they've done on the mound. I don't understand how this team can do anything less than a postseason berth at the very least, and why not? Why not get to the NLCS and beyond?
Oh, that's some very high praise. Obviously, comparing that staff to the Braves of the '90s, but it's you hit it right on the head though. Their first three guys could contend for the Cy Young. They have three guys that could contend for the Cy Young if they pitch up to their talent. And if your only worry is the fifth guy is the fifth starter Ross Detweiler, I think that's a good worry to have.
Great worry to have.
Right, any team would kill to just worry about their fifth starter. So this Nationals team and their bullpen's rock solid too.
Doesn't seem like they have to worry about Edwin Jackson in the starting rotation like the Cubs did last year.
Yeah, not at all. But Soriano is a solid closer. Clippers a great relief pitcher. So this Nationals team is very strong. Switching sports again here, Brian. Looking at the Wizards, finally over the 500 mark for the first time in a long time. But obviously with this weekend Eastern Conference, how do you see the Wizards at the fifth seed right now, possibly getting to the fourth seed and maybe having a chance to win a series?
Absolutely, I think so. They're only a few games back of the fourth seed, and they're getting hot. They're on a 4-game winning streak. They finally got rid of Jan Maselli and Eric Mena. Those guys just a headache every night to watch. So they got rid of them, and now Al Harrington getting to step up. Andre Miller getting to step up. They just brought in Drew Gooden, who I think he's going to provide depth there at there in the low post. And Marcin Gortat, he's really starting to find himself. He had a double-double the other night, and John Wall playing the best he's ever played in his entire life. I mean, the guy is on a tear. Bradley Beal really starting to figure things out. If he can continue to dribble like what he's doing, I don't understand how anybody's going to stop him. And Trevor Ariza, he's knocked down from behind the arc. He's really starting to find his stroke. This team is starting to peak at the right time. They kept themselves in position all season long up to now to be in the playoff chase, to be in the playoff hunt. They've got themselves right there in the middle of the pack. I think they're right where they want to be. George Karl on ESPN this morning said that other than the Pacers, the next best team to possibly unseat the Miami Heat, he pointed out the Wizards. And I think that's a fair statement to say. I think the Heat, they're a great team, no joke. But I don't think it's unfair to say that the Wizards could unseat them, could knock them off in a playoff series. So Washington has so many great things going. And if they continue to play like this without Nene and continue to win games, if they can go above 500, stay above 500 without Nene, and over the next 4 to 6 weeks, and then bring him back just in time for the playoff run, I mean, that's a team to be afraid of because they're going to figure some things out. They're going to understand how to play without Nene on the floor, and then we add him back into the mix. Oh my goodness, that is a very scary starting five with Gortat, Nene, Ariza, Wall, and Beal. That's going to be something beautiful to watch come playoff time.
Hold on one second here, Brian. Let's debate a little bit and let's discuss a little bit here. If the Wizards sustain the 5 seed at the moment and they get into the playoffs as the 5 seed, and the Bulls hold on to the 4 seed, we're looking at a Chicago-Washington matchup. So let's say that happens, and now let's talk a city-to-city rivalry right now as you're in Washington and I'm in Chicago. So, again, Kirk Heinrich, John Wall. And we talked about this earlier on in the show, that I understand that John Wall is not a spot-up shooter, but we talked about this with Steph Curry, what Kirk Heinrich was able to do last night. When Steph Curry was spotting up on the three-point line, and even when he wasn't open, it seemed like Kirk Heinrich's impact on defense when Kirk Heinrich was guarding him was getting in Steph Curry's head. So if this Bulls team does match up against the Wizards, I think their defensive impact, I'm not saying the Bulls are going to be able to unseat the Miami Heat. Tom and I talked about that. I don't think the Bulls can do that. But I do think the Bulls can beat the Wizards based off of their defensive intensity.
Okay. I like that matchup, and I would love to see that matchup in the opening round series. I think that would be just a ton of fun to watch because I think the two teams match up well. And I love the idea of watching John Wall and Kirk Heinrich go head-to-head, and I also love the idea of Joakim Noah and Nene, or Joakim Noah and Gortat, whoever, Joakim Noah and a Wizards big man going head-to-head. I think that those two battles will be fun to watch. And that would be such a difficult series to predict, I'll be honest with you, because I think both teams, they're so evenly matched. I think that they're neck and neck on paper, and I think that it would then come down to the others. For me, being the DC guy, I would then look to Bradley Beal and Trevor Ariza. I would look to them to be two guys to look to step up, to knock down some jumpers, to knock down some threes, to be able to, kind of take the pressure off John Wall, give the Bulls something more to think about. Look at the bench with Al Harrington and Andre Miller. I think that those are two guys right there that could really benefit. And I think when it comes time for that, I think we'll see the bench for the Wizards be stronger because Al Harrington hasn't played in a while, and Andre Miller he didn't play very much in Denver. So I think that bringing him in and giving him more reps and more minutes, get him into shape, and I think it'll ultimately make him a better player. So, man, that'd be a lot of fun to watch. I think that'd be a great series, and it could go either way. But for me, I really do think that the Wizards will be able to pull that one out, simply because I think their bench will improve from now to then. And I think that Bradley Beal will only get stronger, and Trevor Ariza will continue to play as strongly as he has been.
Then again, Jimmy Butler will be up on Beal, but again, Tom?
Yeah, I one last question for you, Brian. Are the Wizards starting to sell out games, or not sell out, but sell more tickets now that they're winning? Because I know for a while they had a lot of trouble.
The Verizon Center, and we were talking about that a couple weeks ago, Tom, that they had a fan cam on, I believe it was fair weather fans, and they had it on the Miami Heat's spectators. That's a good question.
Yeah, basketball fever, and the Wizards for so long, especially after post-Gilbert Arenas, just went right downhill. And it's just now on the turnaround in terms of the fan base. You got the diehards that are still there, but I think there's still more work to be done with the Wizards fan base. They're not selling out games. They're not really coming close to it. So I love going to Wizards games. I think it's a ton of fun. And I remember that the Miami Heat, the Fairweather fan cam where they put on all the Miami Heat people. But the thing is that night, that's pretty much all there was to put on the fan cam. It could have been just a regular fan cam, and it still